Hello, Lisa and Arthur. Here's your sewer scope from today's inspection. That's me in the basement, just kind of showing you where I am, letting you know that I'm actually in the proper basement. There's the clean out access point. We dropped right into cast iron from this PVC fitting here. Top right, you can see that there's a small hairline crack right there. Something to monitor, something to keep an eye on. The big takeaway in the initial stages of this pipe, or if you notice the trench going through the bottom of the pipe, that's buildup of organic matter, cooking grease, other stuff from the house. Not terrible. I've seen a ton worse. Eventually, you might want to clean the pipe out, but again, just something to be mindful of. So like I said, we start out in cast iron. We stay that way for about 37 or so feet. Typical cast iron, not very corroded. Cast iron is going to corrode on the interior of the pipe. Everything looks as would be expected in a 70-ish year old pipe. That's an inlet right there. That's probably the clean out by the water meter. And once we get past that, which we did, we're on the outside of the house now in the front yard. Here's our transition to clay pipe. As I was saying earlier, they're short sections, roughly 4 feet in length, and they're just pressure fitted together. So sometimes at the joints, you have what are called offsets or lips. If the pipe is laid flat, one section after the other, then you generally don't have any problems. It's only when the pipe turns, when there's a drop, like this one right here, it's starting to turn down. The water is the indicator on where the bottom of the pipe is. Another one right here, not a problem there, but then coming up, here's the one I get stuck on, right? So that's a fairly aggressive, let's just call it aggressive, misalignment of pipes. I don't see any dirt. I don't see any debris coming down into the pipe. I don't believe, like I had mentioned earlier, that there might be separation. I don't see any separation. Didn't see any separation when I first came in. We just have that lip there at the bottom of the pipe. The other positive is that it's not holding anything, right? There's no roots growing through it. It's not holding any paper products, any other organic matter, things like that. So you'll see. I'm gonna turn on some water here in a second. It'll take a little while for the water to reach this section of the pipe, but you'll see that the flow is actually fairly good, right? So if you're doing a load of laundry or taking a shower or whatever, you're not going to have a problem with the pipe not draining. I don't foresee that. That said, it's definitely something to keep an eye on, right? So coming back in another, let's say, year and a half and reevaluating the pipe, seeing if there's any change, might be a prudent thing to do. You don't know how long the pipe has been like this. This could be a relatively recent occurrence, or in my opinion, probably more likely, it's been this way for 20, 30 years, and it hasn't moved since. That's just speculation on my part, obviously. You could pull in a sewer and drain company to get their opinion on it, have them give their expert opinion. Skeptically, my thinking is that if you reach out to a drain company, they're gonna always want to get some work out of it, right? So they're gonna say, no, this needs to be blah blah blah. So I don't know if we're necessarily there yet. Again, in my opinion, just take a cautious approach. Come back in a year and a half or 2 years, see if there's any change, any movement. Also, you want to check to see if there's any root growth in the pipe, because that is a characteristic of these clay fittings. There was only one small little dab of root that I saw, so potentially the line was cleaned relatively recently. but you want to check on that as well, just to get kind of an idea of what the characteristics of this pipe is, the lateral sewer line. I'll write all this up and put it in my written reports. I'm going to keep the camera rolling. Eventually I'll start pulling back. I keep the camera going. Just one more point. Again, notice the drainage, right? So I've got the utility sink going full blast. I have the bathroom sink going downstairs, and I'll flush the toilet downstairs as well. You'll see all of that. So the volume of water is pretty aggressive, and again, it's draining through fairly well. Back to what I was saying, I'm going to keep the camera rolling. You're welcome to watch the return journey. Read through my written report. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm always available to answer questions and be a resource if I can.